Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of In the Know with Cat Bobineau. This week, I am talking to Dream Nefra, and she is my very first for 2017. And Dream is a computer engineer. So let's go ahead and talk to Dream and learn more about her. So let us know, what do you do as a computer engineer?
Well, currently I am working in the field. I had started a small engineering firm, Atterbury Engineering, named after my mom's side of the family. I work doing social justice work
Okay.
in conjunction with engineering. I do several different projects. Many of them are for private clients that are like churches, school organizations, and the like that focus on children's inclusion in the technology and also act as their voice.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So you're doing some social justice and working with private sectors, but what type of social justice? Like, what can we look out for and we know that Dream is behind this?
Well, for the month of February, something everybody needs, that free cracked screen workshop. Yes, me too. Yes,
Yes.
my phone has fallen, my tablet has fallen. Whatever you can think of, I have probably cracked. So it's very easy to do. It's just glue and time and just sensitivity to the internal working and also the timing of when you do it. Because if your screen's already turning black, well, maybe you might want to consider a
It's
replacement.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say it's
it's
a
a
little
little
too
late.
late.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. My phone is cracked, and it's like that nice little one long crack
Yeah.
along.
Well, you can sign up for our workshop and we'll help walk you through it. In some cases, we'll actually replace it for you if it's just too difficult for you to remove. But me and several other just people who are interested in helping others will assist you to make sure that you get through the process smoothly.
Okay, well then we can go ahead and throw in a little plug in. So how do we find out about this workshop?
Well, definitely go on our Facebook page. The name of the organization is Tech and Soul Food, and we should have all of the dates and places because it will be several cities throughout the Bay Area. So it will be coming to a city hopefully near you.
All right, cool. So then let's go ahead and start talking about how you decided you wanted to do computer engineering. So, what's your background or what made you excited about going into computer engineering?
Well, initially, I always knew I wanted to do something with science. My dad was a chemist, and my mother was a police officer. And she was actually a very high ranking police officer on the Boston Police Force. So I didn't really want to do that, but I enjoyed the perks of her knowledge, and she was very good with business management. So and both of my parents were also entrepreneurs. So I didn't want to take the traditional route and fill out a bunch of applications after getting the engineering degree because I had a chance to join different student organizations that exposed me to companies on the interior and also able to talk to a lot of people. And I just was like, maybe I should try to create a firm that worked more in social justice and tech equity than straight up just technology clients and so on and so forth. It was a culmination of things that led me to this path. Computer engineering came only after I tried biomedical, electrical, and I was really thinking about, doing aerospace engineering,
Oh, okay.
but there was a lot of reasons behind that choice converting over to computers because in the process, every time I had any assignments or anything, I would have to like learn new technology along the way, and there was nobody there to hold your hand. So,
Yeah.
and I was like, wow, I really can learn the computer side very fast. And people were like, yeah, you're really good with it, and the aesthetics, the way you present stuff, and you're not shy in front of groups. So
Right.
perhaps computer engineering may be the best.
So, when you first went to school, it started off biomedical, then it went to
Electrical,
electrical,
and then
aero,
aerospace, and
and
then
then
computer. But
computer.
but luckily not course load wise. I was always I did the required courses that led up to the engineering degree for computer engineering. I thought about doing straight up computer science for a while, but maybe for my PhD.
Okay. So, are you ready to go back to school? Possibly
Well,
do a PhD?
I actually am in the process of getting certified as a networks administrator for Cisco.
Okay.
So I take a class at Mission College, two classes within the one semester, and that starts on the 31st. And to be honest with you, there was so many different ways that you could be in computer technology and not even touch computers too, that are also really fascinating and also would be considered engineering. But I wanted to do the networking part because I saw a lot of issues with security, and also too how to bridge all these. Some people might not have the money to upgrade, to a new server or whatever, or get on the cloud properly. So, to get through all that amalgamations and to make sure that things stay in place, and things that need to be private stay private or secure.
Yeah.
I felt like I could have a better hand up instead of just sticking with development, which was what I first started off with. Everybody loves the WordPress and all that type of stuff that you do for them. But I wanted a bigger challenge, and that was to, work within securities and the networking so that all systems can work well and, display what we have to show on the internet. Great.
Okay. So so now you've done computer engineering. Now you're working on the security side, the networking side. If you were to get your PhD, what would it be in?
Well, I really think I would do computer science as a overall breadth.
Okay.
Just the science of it all, from development and networking, but then to maybe take it another step to the abstract elements of it, like the parts that make it so that things are secure, and maybe do a lot more inventions and innovation, because that's something that I'm really interested in, is to be a inventor for the next big thing. Maybe I'll make something that's even better than the cloud. You never know.
Oh, okay. So this is a person that we all should be friends with, because when she gets to that point, we're going to be like, don't forget about me.
Right. I mean, there's still a lot of needs go to the wayside. Like, I don't know if people remember when you could first bleem people. They used to call it bleeming, or beaming. That was Bluetooth.
it like the two-way pagers?
It was the two-way pagers, remember? And that was without using wireless or any kind of data plan or whatever.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wish that they would do that for the low-cost cell phones and things like that, to make it, because it's actually a little bit more secure than going over a private network.
Right, because somebody can break into that network and see what you're doing.
Sure.
Versus if it's just the little...
Just me to you. Yeah, we're in the same room. No one should know that.
Yeah.
Right. And that could, that's a very secure method. But, it went to the wayside. And now people sort of still use that when they have their wireless speakers or headsets and they want to listen to music or, broadcast something.
So how far of a range would that be? Because I feel like, I've done the Bluetooth from my phone to a boombox, but once you leave the room, go out too far, it breaks.
Yeah, it breaks. So I would definitely like to work on like the distance and improving the overall quality and integrity of like whatever product you're using, whether you're bleeming a video, streaming audio, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And so you mentioned that your parents were entrepreneurs in Boston. So you're originally from Boston.
Well, actually, I was born in Meridian, Mississippi. Both of my parents were also born in Mississippi. And our heritage is West African from Ghana.
Okay.
And on both sides, as well as indigenous people of Americas, the Choctaw Nation. So,
how did you find all that out?
Well, my mom is quite the bit of a genealogist.
Okay.
I mean, everyone in our family is really into like beyond Ancestry.com. Before that even was coming along, they were deeper. They wanted to look deeper. They wanted to know beyond what were written records. And luckily, because so much of my family was born in Mississippi, they were able to even go to the original places where we last know for sure, places like Zero, Mississippi, where there's actually nothing there still. It's just a lot of farmland and land owned by people, but there's really there used to be habitation there, but people have since moved to like Meridian, which is very close by where my mom lives.
So it's literally called Zero, Mississippi?
It's literally, the name of the township is Zero, and there really isn't anything there. But it used to be a huge plantation and a huge, like they did forestry for like firewood, stuff like that. But that we do know up into at least 8 generations beyond what is recorded history in the state of Mississippi because of oral history. So that's why it's good to tell people what's up with you.
Yes. I was about to say that. Like, oral history is very, very important. Well before we wrote anything, indigenous people said it. They said
Right.
it, they passed it down generation to generation, and you're going to learn more that way because written history is only the history of the person who wrote it,
Right. That's true.
basically. So if you was to say it out loud and you share it in generational generation, that's how you really know what happened. So that's really cool. I don't think none of my family know. We can't go all the way back like that. So it's really amazing that you guys can do that.
Yeah, like I said, we were lucky that we have such a huge amount of members that are still living, that lived, that had relatives that lived in the 1800s up to almost the 1700s. There's oral history from, before the end of enslavement. So we have the records, like I said, almost 10 generations back.
Wow, that is
Of what of what they could collect properly, but it's like the telephone game.
Yeah.
We can only hope that it's the best quality information because we weren't
Right.
there. So
right. I mean, that's the thing. Even with telephone, you kind of just pick the main part out.
Right,
Everything
right.
may not be on the up and up, but you take what you need to take out of it, which is cool.
And then also my mom and dad both did the the test where you salivate into a bag to make sure that some of the records and stuff, at least the land tie, whether it be because they wanted to be sure that, okay, well, how much is it actually West African or European or,
Right.
native to the Americas.
Right.
So, yeah. So that's an important part of scientific technology that also encompasses, like, part of my belief system overall is that, to be one people, you also have to really kind of appreciate the different acculturation that goes into being you, because there's parts of you that you don't understand and you'll never get to, but it still busts out and comes out. It still
Right.
shines through in a positive way, hopefully. So that's why I think it's important to pursue passions that you've had, whether you want to be a dancer, a singer, an artisan, maybe even a teacher, or any type of thing that you want to do. The lifespans have increased so dramatically for those that do enjoy a long life. You might as well try to do a little bit of this and a little bit of that.
Yeah, I think that sometimes the people who are fortunate to have these long lives, a lot of times are happy lives. They're the ones who are doing what they, in their heart, they know they want to do, or they really feel that they have to do.
Sure.
No one fits in a bubble. That's the
No.
thing. And one of my biggest thing I talk about, especially with students, is you don't have to pick one bubble.
No.
Just because you like science doesn't mean you don't like dancing. Just because you like tech doesn't mean you don't like skiing or whatever.
Sure.
And there's people who encompass it all the time that can take both loves and study it. There was a woman I had interviewed. She had her PhD in neuroscience, and she was an opera singer.
Wow.
And she liked to perform, and what she did her PhD on was the memory of people who do, she did it on memory, but it was because she wanted to better understand how someone can get into character
Sure.
and remember the
sure.
lines, remember the song, and stuff like that. So
Sure.
you can encompass
Yeah.
your love.
Just like we were saying off camera before this, I had an impromptu performance just the other day, and it is true muscle memory, because as I was approaching the stage, of course, I'm nervous out my mind. I'm going in front of many of my friends and family, but I just was like, you got to do that there because you did it before for 20 years. So don't make it look like you never practiced or anything. Just practice while the other person's rapping, say your rap, in your head, and just kind of bob along and,
Yes.
put out good energy, because you'll get that back. And so, in the intro, I just asked people, I was just like, is it cool? Can I say something written? I don't want to bust a freestyle on you. I only got 16 bars, they got all specific on us here. So I just wanted to, bring up the spirit and make sure people felt comfortable with what I was doing, because I know that the style of rap that folks were doing, they were like talking about people's outfits and, the arena we were in. And I'm all like, I can do all that too. But since they just did it, maybe I'll just go with the written. How about that?
That's cool. And we
Yeah.
are about halfway through the show. So if you anytime in the next 15 minutes want to go ahead and bust that rap out,
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
opening that
Cool,
stage
cool,
for you.
cool.
Yeah.
It's
If
a
you
bit
want
adult,
to.
so perhaps I will refrain from that right now. I do have some other things that I would like to talk about
Okay.
with you is particularly being a biologist because, like I said, I wanted to be a biomedical engineer, and I'd like to say a little bit about that project
Okay.
because it was just remarkable how it came about because I was not the best student in the world. I wasn't horrible, but I was just okay.
Yeah.
But my professor was just like, you really are into space a bit much. He's like, you always talking about something
Oh my
in your
goodness.
report. It's just like any opportunity you're talking about that. And he's like, well, we have some people coming over from the Cavalli Aerospace Lab at MIT. So I'm all like thinking, oh, wow, really? Oh, okay. Well, and they're looking for some interns. And so I'm like thinking, oh, okay. I was like, well, and I told him, I was like, straight up, look, I didn't do so well this semester. And, they want somebody for this summer. So,
Yeah.
well, so what do you think I should do? And he was just like, you should be yourself because you really love space. So my boss at that time was the person who came. His name was Jeff Holman, and he had been an astronaut. He had did something that most astronauts don't do, and that's go to repair the Hubble Space Telescope in space himself. He actually went there himself 5 times. Most people only travel in space once in their whole
Yes.
lifetime, but he actually went to outer space 5 times, and he was an advocate for humanity and health in space. So that project was very interesting because, here I am. I was just starting. I think I had only done 1 or 2 engineering semesters, but I was really getting better at engineering overall and problem solving and using the scientific method. So he was answering questions, and he didn't really do a presentation. He just answered a lot of questions, and then he started weeding people out of the audience that wanted to be the intern. So it was like, I get there, everyone's in suits, Brooks Brothers style suits and everything, and I'm here with like a red jogging suit on because I thought he was just coming to speak.
Yeah.
And we talked to him later about the interview. My dean looks at me with the evilest eye, the
my
stink eye,
God.
like, are you so
Like,
serious?
for real?
Because
You
everyone's
messing me up.
everyone's in the 9s, and I am coming from gym class or something, who knows? So, but I remembered what my professor said, and that was to be myself. So that was myself that day.
Yeah.
So I sat, amongst friends, and, as the interview part started, people started to leave, and here I am, there was maybe one other female, and that I knew that female. She was very educated, but she could not express herself that well. And you could tell she wanted the internship because, the prestige of MIT, whatever, and they had a few different slots. So he's like asking us questions. And then, I refer back to some of the things that I took notes and refer back to some of the things that he talked about, like how they haven't been to the moon in almost
It's been a long time.
a really long time because it became less of a priority because
Right.
now, the International Space Station is really trying to focus on health and humanity and ways, and they can induce things with zero gravity conditions. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of biomedical things there, and biologists and engineers work heavily at the space station from around the world to cure things that they couldn't do in regular conditions. So
Right.
I was just really fascinated by the fact that, okay, he hasn't been in space in a really long time, but yet he still keeps up with things. And then he was also, like I said, an advocate for low-lying space exploration because of, wanting to make sure the human condition is properly taken care of. Because he said to me, my first space trip, I was only 6 feet. Now I'm 6'4". And I was like, that's a lot of stretching on your spine, your
Yes.
knees, your arms. He's like, yeah. He's like, that's why I encourage people to. He's like, I rode my bike over here. It was about a 2-mile ride, 3-mile ride.
Okay.
Not far on a bike.
Yeah.
But this man was like 71 years old riding a bike, and he had on shorts and a t-shirt kind of thing, and he put on like a little button up over it out of his bag, and he was ready to interview everybody, and everyone's like, wow, this. We thought he'd be in a suit.
Right.
But he was very casual.
Very casual.
And very much, like I said, he was himself. And he was saying, he's like, yeah, my wife even offered to drive me over here. But I was like, oh, no, babe, you just do your thing, and
Right.
I'll catch you later. And he was like, so I asked him, I said, well, how'd you find out about our school? Because he was like, well, I work at MIT, but I always noticed that the majority of the population was African American. And in our lab, most of the African Americans don't even come from Massachusetts. And you would think, how is that possible? You know, so he said, I always had, after driving past here a couple of times, I was like, I need to stop at that school and maybe, get some candidates for our lab, because everything should be included. Every walk of life should be included in science. So, he was like, from people who are disabled to people who maybe can't express themselves so well. So getting back to what I initially was saying about being one of the few females left, because people was getting kind of off the list and everything. And here I am, I'm not even appropriately dressed, but I was hanging with the best of them.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how you look. It really matters about your passion and what you know, because once you open your mouth, and you have to be sure and confident that you are a good fit for what you're looking for. And you have to be genuine with that. Don't just go because, oh, look, it looks good on my resume that I did something at MIT. But you also have to have an actual true knowledge of the culture of the type of thing you were doing. And since I had a chance to look him up on the internet, so I knew that he worked on the Hubble telescope. I knew, things like that. I made sure I did a little research before coming in. So I was just thinking we were going to just casually, like I said, listen to him speak, maybe ask 2-3 questions, maybe go up to him and eat some pizza with him. And that was going to be it. But no, it turned around and was the actual for real deal interview.
Yes.
So always be mindful of that, because you never know. Because I think I just kind of misread or misunderstood what they was talking about. Because of course I would come in interview clothes or whatever. But I also felt like there was a little bit of just miscommunication. And that's why it's very important to make sure that your communication skills are on par with what's expected in that genre of work. And that goes for across the board. But be mindful that you have to be ready at all times, because you never know when an opportunity might strike. And like I said, I didn't have the best grades, but I still went for it. And it was an academic institution, and it is one of the most prestigious ones in the world. And I was asked back almost every time they had the cycle up for like almost 5 years. And I would just say no, because I wanted to move back to California, and I did. But I did do it 3 cycles after the first I was the first person to ever do like a triple internship, like, at the school, because what wound up happening is that I got there, and then my project was an exercise spacesuit for people to exercise in outer space so they can maintain health. So basically, it was an inner vehicle spacesuit, and so you could wear it while you're on an exercise bike, and you're chained to the bike because, of course, you're in zero gravity. But it had to have a certain kind of elasticity to it, so your muscles would also take to the workout. And everybody has to work out at least 2 hours a day, or else their body doesn't function properly. So, so there was a lot of requirements for that. And believe it or not, my aunt on my dad's side, she actually helped me find the 4-way stretch material so that I could sew it and everything. And I had a friend of mine's come in and be the top model. And if you look at my Facebook, you can see all that stuff.
I'm going to.
Yeah. but that, like I said, that was my first project. And it also, like I said, it pointed me towards the direction I should go, because I realized at that point, I care a lot about the human existence, and touching the cadavers and meeting people that were doing this incredible work. I realized that biomedical was not my true calling, because of just how I felt about human existence and how I had to kind of be detached and removed from that.
Yeah, and I think that's some things that some people don't realize. And again, that's one of the things I talk to students about is make sure you volunteer or intern in the field you believe you want to be in.
Sure.
Because a lot of times you'll go into this, you have this idea, this fantasy of the job that you want and the field that you want. And it's like, oh, I could do this, I could do this. And not to say you can't, but it may not be as enjoyable as something else that's either a slightly different field or maybe a completely different genre. You just never know. But starting in high school. Like when you're that age, 14, 15, 16, where you can work or you can volunteer, I say do it.
Yeah.
Do it now before you go to college and you're starting on one track and you're like, I don't really like this. And then you get on a whole nother track.
And there are plenty of museums that are, you know, uphold like science. Like we have science museums, the Exploratorium, we have Chabot Space Center. I even thought about volunteering there myself, you know, because I really do like it. But after a while, I also realized that, you know, there was some very base needs for people to understand the technology in their pockets. There was some very base needs to understand like the health and the benefits in the ways that we use what we have, because a lot of people aren't even using those things correctly.
Right.
So that again, like I said, there's always something that will naturally pull you into the position that you should go. And I do believe, you know, going out and talking to other scientists helps a lot. Like you said, volunteering, spending time, looking at different places. And I do suggest belonging to some type of cultural affinity group that will speak to what you need. Like I belong to IEEE, never went to none of those meetings because I was just like, I get in there and they start playing video games. No. But I went to NSBE and I was like, oh, okay, cool. National Society of Black Engineers. I really enjoyed my time with them overall. But I was like, but dude, you like could be the professionals' moms. You're so much more mature. Your age is older. Because I didn't pursue science until I was like almost 35 and now I'm 46. So, you know, I've been in the game about 10 years and I'm ready for 10 more.
Yeah.
And I would really say to people, it's never too late and you can try. Just try. And even if you don't fail, or you might fail completely, you can always get back up because hey, it's not jail. You just go again the next semester, straighten it out, figure it out.
Right.
But stick to it and definitely get through a process that you can assign value to, because I meet a lot of people that was in my engineering classes and I'd be like, hey, where'd you go? And they were like, oh, girl, I decided I'm going to do theater. Or I went on and I did nursing. Or, girl, don't you know, I went and I, you know, did a dog grooming business or so anything, you know.
I mean, you never know. I mean, your true calling may not be in that first set of life, you know. Everyone's path is completely different. Everyone's path.
Sure.
No, I've meet less people who have a singular linear path than I do who have the bumps in the road, the twists, the turns.
Sure.
I tried this a little bit, I tried this a little bit, and then I found that middle that's really what I'm trying to do. And so that's what I say is just keep going.
Yeah, and like you said, live a full life. Don't be afraid to be, you know, not only a astrophysicist and an opera singer and a skateboarder. You can do whatever you put your heart to, and also go forth with the love of all of humanity and knowing that we are all unified through more than just the actual physical species being, but we're also pulled together through a certain set of mentality, even though there might be some people that are the extreme opposite of what you think about science and stuff like that. Because I did meet a lot of opposition, because a lot of my friends were like, space travel, we shouldn't be leaving the earth. We can barely walk down the street. Look at all the car wrecks. Why are you worried about going out somewhere where there's no humans? And you were like, well, we don't know if there's no humans, you know? So that's why I like I said, I encourage folks to explore.
Yes. So I don't know if you want to leave it on that note, or if there's anything lastly you want to tell the audience before we run out of time.
Well, I definitely want to say thank you for having me. I have dreamed of this opportunity. My name is Dream, and I dreamed of it. How about that? But more importantly is to I'm on social media all the time. That's the best way to get in touch with me. I'm a avid Facebooker, and our organization that does the social outreach is Tech and Soul Food, and we're about 1 year old. So we would love to see you guys out and about at our events. So do look us up, add us, like us. Voila.
All right. Thank you so much. I want to thank Dream for coming in today and being my very first guest for 2017.
Thank you.
And I want to thank my audience for joining us again this week for In the Know with Cat Bobineau. Make sure you join us next week, where it will be a different guest, a different career, and a different opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.